almost no one knows the true story of the Freemasons, which is full of speculation and above all about which countless books have been written since the phenomenon emerged. Freemasonry is in essence and form a spiritual initiation through symbols. This definition comes from the one given by the great masters in Switzerland in the 1950s. A passage from a Japanese book from the 12th century says that the fish lives very happily under the water and the bird very happily in the forest. However, it is necessary to be a fish or a bird to understand what it feels like. The same happens with Freemasonry. It is complicated and slippery to convey the initiatory world without resorting to syncretism or blending views. It can be said that pre-Socratics like Anaxagoras, spiritual Freemasonry, and Christian esotericism say the same thing and speak the same language, but in different ways. I am El Documentalista, and this is It's Freemasonry. Freemasonry's origins are unclear. To try to explain them, we start from two premises: operative Freemasonry and speculative Freemasonry. On one hand, we have operative Freemasonry, a guild of stonemasons who mainly built Gothic cathedrals. It was a very closed guild because of the knowledge they had about building cathedrals and the communication codes their members used. You have to keep in mind that building a cathedral was a long task that spanned several generations. The stonemasons lived in the inns of the villages, and during their breaks they would gather in a hut. Where does the term lodge come from, meaning a place to exchange ideas or eat? With the passage of time, did these Gothic constructions provide some kind of initiatory knowledge? A group like that which stays together for so long inevitably ends up turning toward the concerns of the human being. And indeed, the human being, although still evolving, is incomplete. The biblical explanations do not convince us. The human being was born with very specific possibilities and became mechanized, that is, evolved into the incomplete species that we are now. Is it unthinkable that a species with such brain capacity would dedicate itself to killing its own brother for nothing? That is why Freemasonry seeks to help the species evolve and regain its former form. Religions do the same thing, except with one difference. Freemasonry reaches a point where it has no explanations. Faith can fill the great doubts that remain to be resolved, but Freemasonry does not provide them. It only tries to help the human species evolve in its meetings, so that through it people can better understand the figure of the great architect of the universe. Freemasonry aims to work essentially at a primary level. It is always explained that when the president of the First Republic, Manuel Azana, was initiated, everyone knew about his vast culture. The venerable master of the lodge was a waiter from Madrid. Is it possible that this waiter had more influence in essence than Azana, whose personality and knowledge are recognized by everyone? That is Freemasonry and nothing else. Between 1050 and 1350, and fueled by the religious fervor of the Crusades, around 1,000 buildings were constructed in France, among which about 90 cathedrals stand out. Freemasonry. The guild grew, remained closed in on itself. They called each other brothers and didn't let any outsiders in. There came a time when cathedrals stopped being built and the guild began to decline. That's what we call the real origin of Freemasonry, apart from any speculation. In England, a group of scientists from the Royal Society, an institution dedicated to research, realized that, unlike the East, the Western world did not have, beyond religions, institutions that dealt with esoteric and initiatory subjects. Not to compete with the institutions of the Eastern world, but to provide the Western world with what it deserved. They decided to create an institution in which, regardless of religions, our human species, a human being, could develop. We all think that Newton was the father of speculative Freemasonry. The English scientist is known for his theories on gravitation and because he was the scientific director of the Royal Mint of England. In addition, he was a great alchemist, which was his true devotion. Well, Newton, through other members of the Royal Society, thought about taking on the organization of the remaining lodges, which dated back to the stonemasons. 4 of these lodges joined together on St. John's Day in 1717, forming the Grand Lodge of England. The creator obviously was never a Mason. This society began operating with some success. Pope Clement XII, and not for reasons of faith or religion, but perhaps for temporal reasons, banned Freemasonry through a bull. Excommunicated and labeled as heretical, the propaganda was such that Freemasonry spread even more. Should I mention, by the way, that they are no longer excommunicated thanks to John 23. Remnants of Europe's initiatic societies, Templars, alchemists, spiritualists, magicians, and others began joining the institution. All of them contributed their knowledge, which was reflected in the rituals, like a catch-all drawer, where various kinds of knowledge have been mixed together and are available to anyone who wishes to study them. Later, the nobility joined the institution, as well as more scientists. Problems arose when the businessmen joined who wanted to use the institution for their own purposes. Not all of them, of course. That's when its distortion began. The requirements to be a Mason are very simple. To be of legal age, free, with everything that implies, and of good morals. In addition, certain intellectual knowledge is necessary to understand the complicated world that all of this entails. The differences between the Masons and religions are significant. The mother cell of Freemasonry is the Lodge, a sovereign gathering of at least 7 master brothers who come together to work. The obedience of the corresponding country recognizes it. The lodge has its own autonomy, and the differences between lodges can be significant regarding knowledge. However, this does not occur with the church. In fact, the regulations that apply to 2 billion people must be homogeneous so that the same rules apply to everyone. Something that does not happen in Freemasonry. There are lodges whose way of working and knowledge advances a lot, while in others this is not the case. The relationship of Freemasonry with some countries is curious. The English relied on Freemasonry to support the Commonwealth. Likewise, Freemasonry operates in Cuba, where it has about 50,000 members. When Fidel Castro came to power, besides discovering that Jose Marti and some of those who had helped him were Freemasons, he realized that the only living organization on the island was the Masonic lodges, so he became interested in how they operated. It's also interesting to pause, even briefly, on the relationship between Freemasonry and women. The Grand Lodge of England does not admit them, but there are other mixed and even female obediences in which there have been brilliant women. I'm thinking, for example, of the Catalan artist Clotilde Cerda, daughter of Ildefonso Cerda, the architect of the Barcelona Aixample. By the way, in Spain, out of caution, it's never said if someone is a Mason unless they authorize it. La Vanguardia recently published, for example, that Caterina Miras, the Minister of Culture of the Generalitat, is a Mason. Is the situation of Spanish Freemasonry different from that in other countries? After the dictatorship, they were not legalized in Spain as, for example, the Communist Party of Spain was. The request was denied by Martín Villa. Ruiz Jiménez defended the case, and the Supreme Court finally ruled in their favor. In the last 23 years, the path has been different. Initially, the Freemasons in Spain were poor, few, and not getting along. They had serious problems, arguments, and older brothers who had returned from exile. Spain had changed. The missions were different, and other brothers had been initiated abroad. Currently, there are about 3,000 when, with a basic prospective analysis, they should reach 50,000 to be on par with other countries. In recent years, they have focused and have slowly found themselves. In Spain, Freemasonry entered in 1728 when a lodge was created in Madrid by the English, specifically by Duque Huarto, buried in Poblo. Its highs and lows over the years are well known. With Carlos III and with Napoleon it worked well, but terribly with Fernando VII. The Cortes of Cadiz were favorable to it, as was the First Republic. For now, that's all. But if you found the topic interesting and you're not subscribed to the channel, I suggest you do so. Also turn on notifications because later on I plan to interview some members of Freemasonry in Latin America. I'm El Documentalista, and this was What is Freemasonry? Special greetings to Armando Pérez Trejo, NCY 777, Juan Pablo León Luján, Sandra Ramírez, Dario Garabi, Sergio Ramírez Mata, Raúl Obregón, Zeus Iris, Armando Pérez Trejo, Odiosita 29, Luis Pina Marco and his followers, Pro Gomez, Alejandro Osor, Christian Garcia, Bill Jody Chavez, Red Top 69, Josue Game Jazz, Lara Wilbert Yuga, Miguel Flores, Ana Isabel García de Carrizo, Diego Joseph Guzmán Loyola, César Aguilar, Eterna Moreno Moret, Limbón Gamer, Antonia Ramírez, Mari Girón, Lucas Fernández, Jesiel Lomas, and Diego Mustaine. Thank you and see you next time.